How's it going, everybody? See a few people logged in. We're 10 minutes away. If there's any pre-meeting questions, you're welcome to post them in the chat. Welcome, everybody that just joined, especially those on YouTube. If you have any questions that you want to post in the chat, you're welcome to do that before we start here in 8 minutes. And if anyone's on the YouTube channel, you're welcome to post in that chat as well to try to see if that works for you. Hi, Tim. Hi, Tim. About 5 more minutes and we'll get started. Oh, fix that. All right, we're coming up on 6 o'clock. Give me a shout out if you have good audio. I'm just looking at the chats here. I lost my co-host today, so now I'm trying to work multiple chats and screens and coordinate our guest speaker who will be joining right about the time that he gets off work in about 30 minutes. So we'll get started here in just a few minutes. Thanks, Mike. Good. YouTube's good. Okay. Thanks, everybody. All right, 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome. Thanks for joining. We'll see how seamless this is. Trying to add a guest halfway through the meeting. Let me swap over here. Like I said, if you just joined, I've got the cons myself. I usually have at least a couple people helping me out, and um, they're having fun in Disneyland. So we'll just keep pressing on. So just to run through, if you're there's likely several of you that are on the phone or on the call that are not instructors. Um, this meeting is kind of the beginning of a move to include the general membership to a lot of the safety related stuff. So there will be some instructor related items discussed, but you're welcome to ask questions, and you're welcome to ask questions about anything that shows up in this. So we're going to try to include more just general member related stuff, and a lot of the things that we discuss are member related anyway, even on the instructor meetings. So we'll move right along here. All right. So for the instructors in the group, there's a new link, and if you're actually watching this video online, then the link, if you're on a desktop, is to your right. It says CFI meeting credit. It probably already has your name and email, assuming that you're logged in. If you're not logged in, you would need to log in. Once you do that, you'll see the date, today's date, your name, email. The meeting code is the code that you have seen for the last several years. You get that code at the end. You can put it in to the system. You'll get an email confirmation, and you can log into Schedule Master. You'll see that meeting captured under your profile. So you'll see my account, and then under Pilot Personal, the same place that you see checkouts, it's just right underneath that. It's under Other Checkouts. It'll have the safety meeting, and then under the notes, it'll have the code that you entered. So take a note of that. Okay, good. I'm glad there's some folks helping out with the chat. Take a note of that URL. If you're not online, you can, or if you're not on Vimeo rather, or the website itself, then you can log in. All of the events are going to be broadcast through the website there under the live event stream. So any of the events that we have, even when we get back to the in-person events, they will all be streamed through the website. They will all be streamed into YouTube as well concurrently and archived for later review. Um, so just a rundown of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. Today is mostly about just some of the new things, new places to go for some of the things that many of you have done in the past on the website. And then just talk about the direction we're headed with uh, some of the stuff on the website, specifically related to safety. Rich says there's no audio. Is anyone else having that issue with no audio? Okay. All right, I'm going to keep pressing on then. All right, so we have several new airplanes. Usually this is something that Dave Eby discusses on these meetings. I'm going to try to get this. I think I got them all, but like I said, he was out today. So we have a lot of new airplanes coming online. Dave's bringing new airplanes in all the time. And the few that we've had in the last couple months, 4951 Golf, the 172 Montgomery, 6706 Yankee has actually been in the club before. We've been waiting to get it back for a few years now. It's a Duchess that is at Gillespie. It's actually a really nice paint job. At least it is now, or at least it was a couple months ago. Hopefully it still is. We got another Cirrus. It's a SR22. It's very similar to 8148 Foxtrot with some exceptions. Number one is it's a turbo. Number two is it has the Avidyne audio stack. So if you do fly the SR22s, it's the IFD series from Avidyne for the Navcoms, the IFD 540 and 440. Substantially different than the Garmin's. So if you are needing to get a checkout on that, I'd recommend going through the just some of the stuff on YouTube. It's some of the stuff is good, and some of the buttonology on it is kind of clunky. And then we got 728 Tango Bravo is a beautiful PA-28 at Gillespie. There's probably a few that I'm missing since the last meeting that we did, but I didn't have my my trusty ops guy to go through it and verify it. So a lot of new airplanes coming online. There's a Bonanza coming online that I think is going to be online within the next month or so. I'm not entirely sure. All right, we're going to go through the website here in just a second here. So I just want to run through a few things that some people don't know. Uh, the main club phone number is in red there. We have tried to move that into our more centralized communication system. If you were to dial that right now, please don't. Go into that and press 9 for ops emergencies. We've set it up to where it will route the call to the various officers that can help if there's some kind of an accident or something. That's specific to accidents, or if you're stuck somewhere, it will go to, I can't remember the routing at this point, but it basically will ring the folks that will be able to help. Myself, Dave Eby, and Larry at the moment. If there's an issue, it'll go to one of us. So if you just call that number, then you can hopefully get an answer really quick. That number will also accept text messages. Those text messages are there. It goes into a member group. So if there's a membership issue, you're welcome to. You can text that number now, and one of the membership folks. I mean, just keep in mind the staff isn't that big, so there's only 4 or 5 of us that would ever respond anyway. But you're welcome to text that number. There's also a safety hotline that some of you might remember from about a year ago, maybe. It's always been there, but we migrated the phone number and the phone system. So the idea was that if a general member has an issue or a question, or they just have, I've had all kinds of questions come through about density altitude, or should I take off, or what do you think about this place, or can you check my routing on a cross country, whatever it is. For instructors, if you have any interest in being part of that safety hotline, then shoot me an email and I can add you. And basically, the system just goes through and routes the calls to whoever. It can do it any number of ways. So it's really up to you on how we handle that. But it's just a volunteer system. There's not a lot of traffic into that, mainly because I don't think a lot of people know about it or nobody wants to call. So at any rate, if you are interested and you want to join in on that, shoot me an email. I'll put your phone into your phone number into that system, and we'll get you going. Just checking the chat here. All right. All right, moving right along. The instructor program for all the instructors on the group has changed pretty substantially. This meeting is not meant to go into a lot of the details of that program, but just high level. There are a lot of rumors out there. What I would ask is if you are an instructor that you go to your senior instructor and ask if those rumors are true. 99% of the time they're not. So I don't know where all of this stuff comes from. A lot of people just think that we're trying to make changes that we aren't. So if there's any questions or comments, talk to your senior instructor first. They likely have more information than your instructor that you would see on the ramp, or someone that might not have all the information. I try to provide as many updates as I can, as quickly as I can to the senior instructors. So for the most part, that's your go-to. You're still welcome to contact me, but you're probably going to have more success, especially as we continue to roll out some more of these things for general membership. You might have more success with your senior instructors. Some of the rumors, there's just a couple things that I want to talk about specifically. Number one is that I've heard people talking about part-time instructors being a target of trying to remove them. That is absolutely, completely false. There will be no instructors whatsoever that will lose their authorization because they failed to meet any CEU specific credit. So let me say that again. If in the next year you have not met the CEU requirement that is currently posted, that is not grounds for losing your authorization. It will not happen. And that's why it says at the top of that page that it is a work in progress. So if anyone is concerned about doing a bunch of stuff to try to maintain their authorization, don't worry about it. The other rumor that's out there is in relation to the solo requirements. This is a little bit of a moving target still. There's some stuff that I'm still trying to work out with the senior instructors, but basically the system is, or the process is, that if a student pilot has not soloed in the club, you need to reach out to your senior instructor and talk to them about it, preferably a few days before you actually want to solo them. The intent is not to create additional roadblocks, and there's some things that I'm working on that hopefully will actually be more of a benefit to these student pilots and the requirement with the senior instructors. I just don't have that solidified yet, so that's really not anything that I need to go into just yet. Um, so if you run into a roadblock, if there's a problem with your senior instructor not getting back to you in time, or you can't get a hold of them, or whatever the case may be, please let me know. Don't just assume that we're going to hang everybody out to dry. We don't want to ding the student pilot, and like I said, we don't want to create a roadblock. But at the same time, as with nearly every other school, which we are not, but every other school in the country, there's always phase checks. I've sent people to other instructors before to get another set of eyes. A lot of instructors do it. I don't think it's unheard of. So, and if you want to discuss more of that, then you're welcome to contact me or your senior instructor, either or, and we can talk about it. There's some things that I'm working on with Schedule Master. There's two big items. There's a lot of stuff that I'm working on with them, but two big items just to mention. Uh, One of the items is a click to dispatch. So I'm working with them to, let me see, I think the screenshot, there it is. It is not exactly going to look like this, but the general premise is that a member that has an upcoming reservation will receive an SMS text message, if you will, that will have all of the data or the details for their reservation, including linked items for what you see there on the screen is the airworthiness, the registration, and weight and balance. But ideally, all of the squawks, all the inspections, they're all going to be listed. So at a very quick glance, you can see if the airplane is airworthy or not before you even hopefully show up to the airport. So that's one of the items that's coming. Um, that is probably a couple months out. The item that is likely sooner is specific for instructors. That's the pilot checkout form. So just to run through the workflow, if you will, someone that joins the club will join with a blank slate, if you will. The website and the application process will capture all their basic information, basic pilot information. They will need to go through an aircraft checkout, which has been the case for 20 plus years. They will need to go through an aircraft checkout with one of the instructors. Once the instructor submits the aircraft checkout, right now, that aircraft checkout goes to a manual process. It takes a day or two, maybe even up to 3 days on occasion, to have that form processed by Erica. She currently handles that, and then once that's done, the member would then be able to reserve the airplane. So the idea is we're going to uh, bypass that whole manual entry, so that as soon as you submit a checkout, the checkout will be processed by Schedule Master automatically, and the member will then immediately be able to reserve an airplane. So Erica will then look at those checkouts and just spot check some of those to make sure that they're working correctly. But that will likely be here within the next few weeks. So keep an eye out for that. I will let the instructors know when that happens. So we're putting a lot more control, if you will, to the instructors themselves. You will have the ability to determine whether or not a member is actually able to schedule by submission of that checkout form. So uh, what we're trying to accomplish is a lot of the ops rules, we're trying to programmatically code those into the system so that there's not any ambiguity, which there has been in the past. So that's the general idea. But like I said, that'll be coming pretty soon. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to look at the chat and then add my guest speaker here who's just starting to join in. All right. So moving back for just a second here, I just want to cover a few things on the website specifically for instructors, but some of this stuff might be pertinent to the members that are joining in as well. So hang on 1 second here. All right, let's try this again. All right, so specifically for the instructors, a couple things. Number one is what I was just referring to, the pilot checkout is under My Account, pilot checkout form. Once you're in here, this option for anyone that's not an instructor that's online, this option is only available to instructors. So if you're not an instructor, you're not even going to see this. Excuse me. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to run through the whole thing, but these, depending on which option you select, is going to determine how this form is routed, including the solo pilot, or student pilot solo. This will actually, if you select this option, the student pilot solo, the senior instructor gets a copy of it, and it also removes any unnecessary information. The only thing we really care about is the model, so that gets processed so that they're able to schedule the airplane without the instructor. Now, on that topic, there's been a lot of issues recently, specifically with members that have an instructor on a reservation and they delete that reservation, or they delete specifically the airplane because the airplane might be broken. If they delete the reservation and they select the option that says aircraft only, it's completely convoluted and it will not let the student rebook an airplane with that same instructor again. I'm working with Schedule Master to make it more user friendly. I completely agree that the user experience is horrible. So if there's an issue where you need to cancel an airplane, just have your student delete the entire reservation. And what that looks like is it'll say, when you delete the schedule, it'll say delete the lesson, and it'll delete the whole lesson, and they can just add you again when they re-reserve a different airplane. So anyway, these are the options here that you can select. I've had a few questions on the flight review. It's up to you if you want to upload any information on the flight review that you've done, any PDF formatted files that you want to include, up to and including endorsements. Keep in mind, because this is attached to your account, obviously you're logged in. Okay, so if you're submitting this, you can't submit the flight review on behalf of the member. The reason being is that when the member goes through and uploads their flight review, it actually updates Schedule Master automatically, and they have to be logged in to do that. And what that looks like is under my account, every member has access to the document upload. Many of you have probably already used it. Once you go into the document upload, which in this slightly strange browser here, there it goes. This is what it looks like. They select flight review upload, and it will, based on the flight review date, it calculates a year out. They upload the file, etc., etc. One thing that I will point out is we've had a lot of people that are connecting to the various, basically it's a membership queue, very similar to the text message, using this box here. And you can chat and talk to, usually it's Talisha that answers these, but if you have a quick question, this will capture your information, you can talk to her. And right now there's nobody available. That's why it doesn't have anything going on. But anyway, so that's there too. The idea is to try to make it easier to get a hold of somebody and not harder. And Talisha, I don't even think she sleeps. She's answering stuff 24/7. So you'll likely hear from her at any hour of the day and night. The other thing that I'll throw out here, especially for the members that are in the group right now, there is a CFI service request that's listed up here at the top. If you've used it before, then it should be pretty familiar to you. It's again very self-explanatory. Captures your information based on who's logged in. My guess is that if you're a member and you've used this, you've probably had 50 plus responses immediately. So instructors, I will also point out as well, instructors and members that are on the call, if the person, the member, even new members happen to go to the authorized instructor page, they can click on the CFI service request from here. I've had a few questions as to how some of these instructors are populated in terms of the order they show up in. As of right now, they're all random. So every time these pages reload, they will just reload in a random order. So there's not any currently any rhyme or reason to this. There are filters here for the members. You can search for instructors by pretty much anything. So we can see if there's someone online right now. It looks like there are a few. Excuse me. We can search by approved aircraft. So you can select, I am guessing that Brian is online. So let's get rid of this. There we go. So you can see pretty easy to search by pretty much any number of things. If there are other things that you would like to search by, then send an email and we'll see if we can add that stuff. You can also search by ratings as well, but a lot of instructors don't have ratings yet. So you can search by home airport. I will say, so for all the instructors on the call, if you have not updated your home airport in your profile, then I would suggest that you do that. It's completely up to you, but that is a search feature here. So if somebody wants to find someone specifically to Gillespie or Montgomery or whatever, they can do that. So the other thing that I'll throw out for instructors is obviously apparently I did choose wisely because it looks like everybody in this group has updated their profiles to include both a photo cover. If you're familiar with Facebook, this is I think this is what it looks like. I'm not on Facebook, so I have no idea still, but there's a background and then there's the profile photo. You can add a bio. If someone messages you directly from the website, when you log in, you'll see this little notification window here, and it'll have anybody that's tried to message you or even anybody that's looked at your profile. And let me just run back over to the Q&A for a second here. Uh, the annual flight review requirement. Okay, that's a good question. The annual flight review requirement is an actual flight review. So it is a 6156 based endorsement. Now that could be a new certificate or rating. Yeah, a new certificate or rating, not a high performance or complex endorsement, but a certificate or a rating. So if you get an instrument rating, a commercial certificate, multi-engine rating, whatever, those do count to reset your flight review requirement. So hopefully that answers the question. Um, all right, and just going back over here to, I'm going to skip that, to the fleet page. I'm not going to go too much into this. I just want to point out a couple things. Um, actually, a lot of the aircraft are still a work in progress, and the main reason why, so first of all, it's mainly the documents, and second of all, the main reason is that there's a lot of coordination with the owners to try to get access to some of these documents that we might not have access to. So that's why some of this stuff doesn't show up. But if I click on 106 Hotel Papa, um, I'll just show you what it should look like. This is not an actual browser; it's kind of embedded. That's why it's taken so long. um, so once this comes up, anyway, I'll show you what the. Hopefully, it'll come up here in a second. I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. Mike, yes, wings phases at the very bottom of the wings certificate. There's actually a button you can click for the to see the 6156 endorsement that the FAA gives you. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Up at the top, you can actually click on any of these. They'll open up tabs to FlightAware. You can track the plane. The information presented here under General Information pulls from Schedule Master 3 times a week. So if the owner or the ops officer or whoever goes in and updates this information, so if there's any owner or if there are any owners online right now, you can go into your, I think, I don't know, this is not my area of expertise, but this is a Dave question. I think that the owners can go in and adjust this information. If they do that, then it updates Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Information on the owner, and then if you hover over it, information on the maintenance shop, if we know it. If we don't know it, then it's not going to show up there. And I'll show you the shop pages that we are working on as well. All right. General aircraft documents, again, they'll open into a tab that will show you these documents. There are a ton of airplanes that we're missing this information for, so we're working on this to the tune of about 3 to 5 airplanes a day. All of the documents for the aircraft, the avionics are in here. I can click on these now. It does work on some of these airplanes. Like I said, we're doing like 3 to 5 a day, but some of them won't work if we don't have all the information. Some of the airplanes, if we don't have pictures and we don't know what's in there, we have to track it down, get a hold of either the owner, or, whatever. Anyway, it's a big long process. So that's really it with the fleet page. The only other thing I'll show you guys is the aircraft reviews. I encourage everyone to go out and submit aircraft reviews. It's not terribly difficult to do it. It's under my account. Write an aircraft review. So you can go in here and you can write a review on your favorite airplane, and then that review will get posted to the airplane's page. The more reviews we get, the more we'll be able to allow that to be something that's searchable. Right now, there's only a handful of reviews, so it's a little bit problematic. What I will say is anything that's maintenance related, should not be in that review. It will be pulled off of there. Uh, Remember that if there's anything that shows up that is a squawk, then that technically grounds the airplane. So we don't want any of that stuff to show up here. It has not been an issue yet. So I appreciate everybody that submitted reviews. There's actually some really good reviews that are on some of these airplanes. So again, I encourage everyone to go in and submit reviews for their favorite airplanes, good or bad. However, be honest. The more the owners see this stuff, the more hopefully they'll turn around and actually upgrade or do what they need to do. But I can see that a lot of the reviews come from aircraft that have a lot of care and love put into them. So, at any rate, last couple things that I'll go through. Member accomplishments. There's several ways that you can submit an accomplishment. This is for anybody can do this. Instructors, you can go through and submit a member accomplishment. Ideally, there's a little blurb about whatever the accomplishment is, along with a photo. So it kind of looks like this. If you don't want to go through the time and write the little thing yourself, or if the members, for those of you that are online, like this one right here came from a member. So if they send that information to webmaster@plusoneFlyers.org, then we'll get that posted for you. But for this one here, this was actually a member that wrote this. This marriage article, I did not write it. I didn't know anything about it. So there you go. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do when you write the article. But anyway, the idea is, again, to highlight the accomplishments of our members. I imagine there's way more than what's in here right now. So feel free to go through this and update away. To do this, for those that want to submit an article, it's just under my account and submit an article. It's self-explanatory. Once you go into that, you'll be able to put the title in that you want. It does go. These go through an editorial process. Basically, we're looking for any spelling errors and formatting the title to some small degree, and then just make sure if there's a photo that we put a photo in there. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. And just make sure it's categorized correctly. So, all right. With that, I'm going to move back on to last couple things here on our. Get back over here. Big topic that is going to be probably more and more of an issue. Most of the instructors have seen this. There are still noise abatement issues, and I'm actually going to post a link in the at least in the Vimeo chat on the website. That's a link to KMZ file that you can upload into your download rather into your ForeFlight. It's just a little overlay on some of the extremely noise sensitive areas. One just will likely be added in probably the next few days for Alpine, which we'll talk about in just a second here. But for the general membership, these are areas where we are seeing an increasing level of complaints from people that have way too much time on their hands. Some of them are legit. There actually have been some violations that have come out of this, but it's very few and far between. Most of it, everything's legal. It's just that the residents don't like us circling around their houses. It doesn't even matter whether you're 1,000 feet or 3,000 feet. A lot of times they will still send a complaint. So this is one area. This area here, the photos are centered over where the complaint generates from. This person puts a lot of effort into sending us data that includes the tail number, the atmospheric conditions, the AGL altitude, the track from a variety of websites, keep in mind everything's ADS-B now, so even if you turn it off, you'll get busted and end up in an article on some website. Um, so that's one. There's another one here that is this one is uh, over Pine Valley, Descanso area. This is a litigious group here. They are trying to, or have been trying to, file lawsuits against every flight school known to man. So if there are if there's a lot of loitering over these areas, first of all, I would avoid them completely, and second, I really wouldn't do a lot of repetition around these areas. That being said, we can throw Alpine into the mix. Brian Jones just informed me right before this meeting that there is a new website that a resident created that is meant to get rid of uh, GA airplanes from flying over the Alpine area. Um, the guy put a lot of effort into that website. There's a lot of audio. There's a lot of tracks from the different airplanes. I will say that just a cursory look at it, there are not a lot of +1 airplanes. I think I saw two, uh, but that's a good thing. Yep, that's it. Helpalpine.org. Um, there are there's a lot more people that are working from home, so you're better off, if you spend a few minutes in one area, move on to another area. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to have these communities that crop up. There's in Solana Beach, just since I see that on the chat. In Solana Beach, there is the mayor has there's a technology platform that he's utilizing. Someone I'm sure can throw it in the chat, but that is being used to try to gather resident information about airplanes flying over those areas. So anyway, just keep that in mind, especially for instructors, but just anyone in general. If you're going to go fly over your buddy's house or something, don't do it for an hour and a half. All right. So I think I've got my guest speaker here, and I'm going to get him set up here. So give me just a minute here. And if there's any questions, then feel free to post those to the chat, and I will be. Yeah, that was my bad. Hey, there you guys are. All right, here we go. All right, cool. I'm gonna get. Let's see here. 1 second here, guys. Let me get you. Make you notorious here. 1 second. Here, here, here. There we go. Okay, there's that. All right. Here you guys are, and I'm going to fast forward to your presentation. All right, so let's do a quick sound check, guys. Go ahead and say hi to the group here. Make sure everybody can hear you. All right. Hang on a second. Let me just go back. Make sure I can hear you. Yep. I can hear you. 1 second. All right, ready? And just let me know when you want me to
for us to do. Overall staffing with Montgomery, I will tell you we're a little short right now. We're working on getting more people in here, but we're still running a safe operation. That's what's key. And that's one reason why we want to step out to the pilots, is to bring everybody together safety-wise and make sure everybody's on the same page. Y'all know what to expect from us, and we know what to expect from y'all. If you would, next slide. There we go. Some information to help the pilots, the letters to airmen. They're always out there. There's the web page. It kind of gives you a general overview of how to fly in and out of Montgomery, just regular NOTAMs also. Something that may help all the IFR departures, the Soledad departure. We cannot solicit the ATC side of it in the tower. We cannot say, hey, why don't you do the Soledad departure? We can't do that. It's like special VFR. But this will help if you want to get out of here faster, hopefully. You depart VFR and transition to IFR once you get around Mount Soledad with SoCal. I will tell you, though, lately, this past week with Top Gun going on training, we've been experiencing more delays because they're getting all the F-18s out of here as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so the Soledad departure, that's great to mention. The Foss Tower, all the Miramar traffic, that is the number one reason. It is the primary reason why the Soledad departure was invented, is because if we have an IFR aircraft depart Montgomery and we have an IFR aircraft depart from Miramar, there's less than 3 miles in between those two aircraft, so they can't be simultaneous. So SoCal has to release one and then the other, and back and forth and back and forth. If you request a Soledad departure, that alleviates that 3 mile IFR to IFR requirement. You're departing VFR, and then once the other aircraft is clear, which will happen very quickly because most of the time it's a fighter, they'll give you a climb clearance and you'll be IFR from that point on. So the Soledad departure is highly advantageous, especially in the middle of the day when both airports are quite busy. Also, a quick note on that. I don't know how old this slide is, but page 440 may or may not be where the Soledad departure is. It will change page numbers pretty much every publication, but it'll be around that page number.
Continue on. VFR on top request. There's 2 points that we can send you. One is the Oceanside VOR. The other one is Raya intersection. Raya is on the east side of Gillespie's airspace. So if you're going to the northeast or want to go east, request Raya. If not to the west or northwest Oceanside, we'll give you that. I will tell you, if the ceiling or the top of the clouds are around 7,500 or higher, SoCal will turn off VFR on top request usually.
And that's very subjective too. Sometimes some controllers will shut it off at 4,000 to 5,000 or so.
Yeah, and that's not us doing that. That is SoCal doing that, and that's because most people are not able to get on top, so it's an unsafe operation at that point in time. That's usually why they cut it off. Or if they're getting really, really busy, then they'll cut it off too. Then you'll have to file. Next slide, please. There we go. Another issue we're seeing with people are still using the Cherokee PA-28. We're not hearing it as much anymore on the ground whenever you call for flight following, but some people are still putting it out there. There's no PA-28 anymore. It's P-28 Alpha Romeo Bravo Tango, depending on your type aircraft. So that helps us put information in the computer whenever you do it. Also, whenever you're filing in general, you should be using those codes. And Aztec is the PA-27, regardless of if it was the older Aztec or Apache or whatever. It's always a 27. Now, why this is, and then the Mooney, there's only 2 types. This is important because when you go to SoCal TradeCon, it clicks into the system, the type aircraft, and it's recognized in the computer, and then it gives the proper wake turbulence separation. If it's not correct and you just put PA-28, a code is not going to pop into the computer system, and it's not going to give them the correct little identifier. Wake turbulence category identifier on the radar scope that they see with every aircraft. And then they may provide incorrect separation. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want you to inadvertently, or somebody behind you to inadvertently get too close and hit wake turbulence. We don't want that. So definitely make sure you're checking your type designators.
Something else to note about that is, I'm sure there's some really unique aircraft out there. If you're curious about what your aircraft type designator, that's really what the term is. It's a 4-character aircraft designator is what you're looking for. If you go to the FAA website and you look up publications, the publication is the aircraft designator publication. It's a pretty thick book. It lists every aircraft that's ever been made, and everything has a 4-letter code. Sometimes we get really, really unique ones, but they're all in there, guarantee it. So you can go in there and do a little Control F, look up, P28R-201RT or something like that. It'll give you exactly what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Trust me. We sometimes have to look them up, even in the tower. Go, all right, is this right or not? And what actually aircraft is that's coming in? Continuing on, so we don't get too far behind here. Whenever you're making the VFR request, it's full call sign type, requested altitude. That's underlined there because that's the most missed item that people are telling us. And then we have to go back, and then we start going back and forth. What altitude do you want? And then extra transmissions. Just try and include it whenever you put your VFR request in. Next slide, please. Ground control responsibilities. I will tell you, as you're reading that, ground control right now is mostly combined with clearance delivery and another position we call flight data. We don't have the staffing right now to decombine that very much. Our goal is to, once we get enough staffing, to have clearance delivery separated from ground control. And our goal is from about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning to sunset, when it starts getting busy around here. But we don't have the staffing. And I know a lot of people are experiencing delays on ground and getting out, just trying to get in with ground. It's busy. Another one is whenever you call ground, we may come back and say, I just need the call sign. Who is that? Just say the call sign. That's because we're monitoring multiple frequencies. Not only are we doing ground and clearance, we're also scanning the runways. We're helping out the tower frequency to make sure everything is still safe. We're backing each other up. And if we're monitoring multiple frequencies, a lot of times what we miss is that call sign at the very beginning, but we'll catch everything else because we run over real quick and deselect the other frequencies to listen to the person that's actually calling on ground. So if you experience a little delay or, hey, say the call sign again, we got everything else usually, we just need the call sign. And our goal, again, is minimum heads down time so that we're not down in the computer writing. We're looking outside, making sure other planes aren't going to run into the other ones, make sure landing gear is down, whatever it may be. The bottom note there, if you can pre-file your IFR flight plans, even the local San Diego airports, yes, please. Because if we see it in the computer, then we can make adjustments so when you do call, it's quick, it's easy. Then we don't have to sit there and go run over to the computer and type it in. Whenever we have some downtime, we can pick up that IFR clearance and go fix it if we need to, and then we'll have it ready for you. That also alleviates us from taking away from the operation, especially on ground, getting people moving faster. Next slide, please. Radio etiquette. So yes, make sure your volume is turned up. We get this every day where someone's calling and then we call them back and then they never respond. It's, yeah, probably your volume. We understand. I'm a pilot. Mike has done some training for being a pilot. We understand. We know what you're going through. Definitely double check it before you call us if you can. Listen to the frequency prior to transmitting. This goes with even changing to a new frequency. Just proper etiquette. Count to 5 if you have to, and then listen to make sure the controller is not going back and forth with somebody else that needs a read back before you just start transmitting. Frequency time for transmission, I know that's something we use as air traffic controller, but a lot of times we need to clear somebody for takeoff real quick and we're trying to hit a gap and people are stepping on each other. People didn't listen, want to read back or something, and we have very little time sometimes to really clear somebody for takeoff to hit a hole. And if you're not listening, you just start transmitting, you're going to step on everybody. I had a Cirrus coming in today that tried to key up 5 different times whenever I needed a readback, and that was very painful. We got him in after a while, but all right. Anyways, moving on. Listen before you transmit. What was that other one?
Yeah, a little note on that. I was working the tower just a little bit ago, and had a Mooney that was checking out when he was almost at Delmar, which is not necessary. Please don't do that. He was checking out at the same time somebody was trying to check in inbound. Of course, I didn't hear either one of them. So yeah, you don't need to request a frequency change outside Delta airspace. Just go.
Yeah. A big one is that last one. Whenever you hear the controller give somebody a hold short or runway assignment or any type of clearance, please don't transmit. We need that read back from the other pilot. If not, we're going to totally ignore you and go back and make sure we have that hold short instruction. That one's really big around here at Montgomery. If we do not have that, we're going to harp right on it. I'm going to talk about it again later. Next slide, please. All right, those more outbound tips for you. Who you are, where you are, and what you want. Simple, basic pilot stuff. I'm sure your instructors have beat into everybody, but call sign type and ATIS code, where you are. It's Executive Air Park now, not Gibbs at Montgomery. It's Executive Air Park. And then which way you want to go. Now, if you tell us you want to do pattern work, that's fine. Tell us if you want to do the touch and goes or full stop taxibacks, because we're going to pick our runway based off of one, volume, two, what you're doing, and then if you're leaving or departing, which way you're going. And if you're going eastbound, 90% of the time you're gonna, or 95% of the time you're gonna get 28 right, because we want you to do a right downwind departure, because we don't want you cutting across the approach path for 28 right and 28 left. Unless you're going to Brown, then we'll put you on the left. So we make those decisions as a controller, so we need to know all your information as far as the pattern work and what you're doing. And then there's our times where you request 28 right, and we may move you over, but usually we'll ask you. But if you actually call us on initial contact and say, hey, I want to go do pattern work 28 right, we're going to do everything we can to make that happen, as long as we can do it and it's a safe operation. Yeah, 28 left is our primary full stop taxiback runway. If you can't accept that for full stop taxibacks, we understand. Just let us know and we can work with you. Next slide, please. Thank you. More examples of the proper initial call for departure. I'm going to let y'all read that. I'm not going to read it to you. I expect everyone to be competent pilots and be able to read, but it's very important that we have everything on the initial call. You don't need to give us at Montgomery a courtesy call. Don't do that. We don't have frequency time for that. Just give us everything. We're sitting there with our pen in hand all the time usually, and we're ready to go because we're busy. That's what happens.
Do they know what that means? That courtesy call?
Yeah, most pilots know the courtesy call is just the aircraft type and ground, and then that's it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. Give us everything you need right from the get-go. Yeah, the taxi, the second bullet point right there. Over at Executive Air Park, we get people call for taxi and they're still way in the back, and we give them taxi instructions, and 5 to 10 minutes later they come out of Juliet. Try and go to the end of your line to call us as best as possible. I know it's all non-movement area. We can't control that. That's on y'all. But it's really hard to sequence people in and out on taxiway Juliet if you're all the way in the back, and now we're waiting 10 minutes. Someone yesterday, it was over 10 minutes. I waited 10 minutes for them to come out of Juliet to taxi to 28 right. It was, I just thought they had turned off the aircraft and went home and didn't tell me anything after a while. I was like, oh, there they are. Yeah. Please try and get a little bit further. Now, don't get on Juliet and block Juliet. That's going to make our life really bad. And then, don't do that.
Good call.
So, all right. And I understand sometimes when you're calling for on the ground over at Executive Air Park, there's somebody all the way over at Coast because of the buildings in line of sight. You can't always hear each other. But listen to what the controller's saying. If we're giving a taxi instruction and you can't hear the other pilot, wait a few seconds, because more than likely the other pilot's got to read it back anyways, even though you can't hear it. So just give it a few seconds and then you can key up. And I understand that is a problem. And I think all the controllers really know that that's a line of sight problem here on the ground at Montgomery. So the other ones, if you're ready for departure, you can't access the runway, you can call us and say, yeah, I'm ready for departure, but I can't access the runway. Great. We're going to tell you, let us know when you can access the runway and when you're in the run-up area and you're ready to go. That's fine. Just let us know when you can access it or if you're blocked. The other one, luau instructions. We use luau a lot around here. Please make sure the students, instructors, everybody is fluent and up to date with luau instructions. We use it a lot. We need it a lot because we're getting busy. It's really the only way to get you out of here quickly.
Yeah. In the AIM, if you look in chapter 5, the paragraph is 5-2-5, talks a lot about luau and what you can expect. You're going to be informed about the next arriving aircraft to the runway, and places like Montgomery, nobody's going to have a landing clearance for that runway. So if actually had a talk with a pilot who was kind of being a pest because he didn't have a landing clearance because there was an aircraft in luau. We only at major airports that have what's called safety logic systems, which is basically like big red flashing lights to the next arriving aircraft that there's an aircraft on the runway. Places like Limburg. Or LAX. Those kind of places have really fancy equipment, and that allows them to issue a landing clearance with an aircraft holding in position. We can't do that. So if we tell you traffic is holding in position, don't expect a landing clearance until you hear that aircraft being cleared for takeoff.
Yeah, you are the backup system as the pilot, and that's the reason we tell you is because you're the backup system. There is no automated system. We're getting the help of the pilots to protect that you don't come and land on top of this other aircraft. And that's why we're telling you about the traffic.
So one more time, AIM 5-2-5 is that reference. It'll give you a lot of good information about what ATC does with luau.
Yeah. Next slide, please. Try to pick this. All right, departure at the tower. Give you different departure. Yes, if we give you an instruction to make a right downwind departure and you want to go westbound, don't just say, yeah, 28 right, clear for takeoff. Say, hey, no, I want to go eastbound. And then we'll go, okay, fine. And then 28 right, clear for takeoff, make a right downwind departure. We'll do that. Do not accept something that is not what you want. This goes again with something that I'll talk about later about we're getting rid of the option. But if we give you like a touch and go and you want a full stop, let us know. It is not something that you want, so don't accept it. If you want a full stop and I give you a touch and go, that doesn't help you. You want a full stop, full stop. Same thing with the departure clearances. If you want eastbound, tell us you want eastbound. And if we mess it up, say, hey, no, I want eastbound, and we'll go from there. And we'll fix it, make sure that we're both on the same page, the pilot and the controller. It's a relationship we got to make sure everything's safe. Do not fly up final. Please do not fly up final. If you're over Lake Murray at 2,500 feet, you are in, or just south of Lake Murray, I should say, where the final goes across, you are in a danger zone, a really big danger zone, because we got people coming over Lake Murray and down the final all day long at 2,500 because they're over the top of Gillespie's airspace and then they're dumping in for Montgomery. Don't be in that area. Even out to Mount Helix, up to 3,500. If you're not inbound to the airport, you're in a bad place to be. And we've seen quite a few people lately doing maneuvers in that area. Do not do maneuvers in that area. That's our final approach course. And you're going to be dodging traffic left and right if you're not looking out the window. Don't be over there, please, please. If you want to cross finals, please ask permission before you do it. Or not really ask permission. Say, hey, can I turn to the southeast or something to go across the finals and go to Brown? If you're going to cross finals, try and give us a heads up so we can call out traffic and so that's not an issue for you. We don't want that to be an unsafe situation. Some people want to go eastbound off of 28 left and actually go out to the east practice area. We don't like that because it's taking you across finals. That's a risk you don't want to take. Trust me. Just depart off 28 right, make a right downwind departure, keeps you clear of the finals, keeps everyone safe. It's an easy flow for us. And then we don't have to call traffic out or traffic alerts, which is our top priority. We don't like doing that. We don't like putting y'all in unsafe situations. Yes, traffic. issuing traffic advisories outside of the Delta is workload permitting. We work inside out. The closer the airplane is to the airport, the more traffic advisories they're going to get. As you get outside the Delta and the further away, if we're busy, you're not getting any traffic advisories. If you call me over Torrey Pines and I have 4 in the pattern, great. If I can get to it, nice. But if I have 4 in the pattern, more than likely you're not getting a lot of traffic advisories way out by Torrey Pines. If I have time, I will, but sorry, I got to separate all the planes in the pattern first before I handle somebody that's 18 miles away. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I got. Y'all can read all the other stuff. Please don't make those. Next slide, please. Arrivals, yeah, be accurate on your position. We've had a lot of people call us over Gillespie saying they're over Mount Helix. Try not to do that. Know exactly where you're at so that we can find you. We have a new feature with the ADS-B. Make sure your call sign is in there and it's not showing VFR. That doesn't help anybody. Make sure your call sign is in there. And we have what we call a hot button now, where we can press a little hot button on the radar and it shows all the ADS-B call signs. So if you're not talking to us, we can quickly press this button and your call sign will pop up, and then we can give you a traffic advisory or traffic alert, how close you are to someone else. Try and make sure all the ADS-Bs are working and their call sign are in, because that's helping us know where you're at. One, if you say you're not where you're at, and then also we can give you traffic advisories if you're getting close to someone else. Yes, if you're coming in from like Torrey Pines area, we're going to get you to go southwest of Mount Soledad, then enter the pattern at a 45-degree angle. The reason is that keeps you nice and south of the departure path. Doesn't scare the departures, because you can pin in a departure that's going westbound off of 28 left with a departure that's going westbound 28 right, and then an arrival coming in the left downwind for 28 left. That guy that just departed 28 left, he has nowhere to go. He has airplanes on both sides. So if you widen out your approach path and enter on the 45, that gives the guy departing on 28 left an out if he needs to maneuver his aircraft. Try not to encroach the departure path, because they have nowhere to go. They got Bravo airspace to the north. Most of y'all know flying out of here, you have nowhere to go. So just widen out for your fellow pilot and don't scare them on the departure path. Probably heard me say that a few times. Yeah, don't in the pattern itself. If you are, our goal as a controller is to try and give you a clearance or an instruction by left midfield downwind or right midfield downwind, whether it's to extend or what sequence you are and clear you for touch and go or clear to land. If you don't hear something by a beam the numbers, then just say your call sign and a beam the numbers. That's all you need to say. We know you're already in the pattern because we wrote you down on our pad. You don't need anything else. And then we'll come back with your sequence or another instruction. A lot of times we get busy and the radio gets busy, and then we'll come back to you. But if you need to poke us a little bit, don't do it until you're beam the numbers or just past beam the numbers, and just say call sign and beam the numbers, and we'll take care of you, I promise. Don't assume you're number one in turn base. It's not, Montgomery's too busy for that. Just continue on the down run, and then just pimp us real quick with the call sign and numbers, and we'll get to you, I promise. If planning a full stop, advise tower. Let's talk about something that's coming up in the next week. June 22nd is whenever we go into effect. We are discontinuing, I guess is a good word to say it, the option here at Montgomery. We are going to go with touch and goes, stop and goes.
We're going to be specific on the clearance.
Yeah, and then clear to land. No more option. We're not going to do the option. The reason being, we want to build situational awareness for the pilots in the air, and then also make sure the pilots and the controllers are on the same page. We know exactly what to expect from you. It's all about situational awareness and building situational awareness, and then everybody can have a better plan. Because if, say, whoever's in 3386 Echo doing touch and goes, and they're following a Cherokee on left base, and they hear the Cherokee get a full stop, cleared to land, now they know, all right, that Cherokee is going to turn off. I'm not going to be following him anymore. It's all about situational awareness, bringing everybody up into the same picture that's going on around them, so we're all on the same page. You get anything? It'll be a growing pains, I will tell you, because
Yeah.
We've been practicing already as a controllers because it's not a quick changeover for us because we've been all saying the option, clear the option, clear the option. So you'll start to hear us right now, even getting into that motion, and there's some growing pains to it. But on the 22nd is the deadline for us and what we're shooting for. And this is hopefully going to make us all safer and build situational awareness. Good. All right, next slide, please. Exiting runway 28 right and 28 left onto runway 23. You have to have a clearance to exit onto 23 off of 28 right or 28.
And the option conversation that we're just having, this is actually one of the reasons why it's we're discontinuing the option. Whenever we issue a clearance for the option, an aircraft full stops, we don't know they're going to full stop until they're turning left off of the runway. Sometimes that's on the runway 23 without permission. So really, we're trying to one of the goals is to decrease pilot deviations, because using runway 23 without specific ATC approval is a pilot deviation.
Yeah, we don't want to fill out paperwork, and I'm sure you don't want to get in trouble. So please, if you want to use 23, great. And I understand as you land 28 right, it's a great exit. Just ask if we don't give it to you.
Mm-hmm. If we know you're full stopping, then we can issue that instruction before you even are completely slowed down.
Yeah. Yeah, we're usually pretty quick to it. And if we don't get to it and you want 23, just ask 23 and with your call sign, and boom, and then we'll give it to you.
Also, you don't necessarily need to wait until you're on the ground to ask to exit runway 23. Some pilots, few, but some pilots will actually ask for it when they're 3 mile final. Usually King Airs, something like that. They don't want to roll down the Foxtrot. They know they can make runway 23. But yeah, they'll ask for it. Request 23 to exit.
Yeah. The reason that this is a bad situation for us, we've had a lot of runway incursions on it. People land to it right, turn left onto 23, and because there's no hold bars like you would normally see on a taxiway, people don't know where to fully stop, and then they enter runway 28 left as someone's on final or touching down.
Or get too close to it.
Or get way too close to it. You need to be stopping. There's some signs out to the left. They're kind of far off, left and right, that actually say the runway number 28 left. Stop beam those signs. We used to have markings across the ground, and as you're approaching it, you can still see where they took the marking up, and it's a beam. Those signs stop right there. We're working on getting the markings back. They're technically non-standard markings because we don't have land and hold short at this airport, but we think it's such a big safety issue that we're working our best to get those markings back for the pilot so that y'all don't get too close to the other runway or continue over the runway, and it's a bad situation for everybody and it's unsafe. And if you were to go across those lines and get too close, we don't want that for you. So just use caution when you use runway 23 as an exit off of 28 right. You'll see us too in the future. We're trying to push people more, if they miss Mike taxiway, to do a hard left turn onto Echo as much as possible, just to try and reduce that scenario of even putting you in the unsafe situation if we don't have to. So you'll start to see that more as we continue on with the way we're changing some stuff to make it safer for you. Let's see. Yeah, don't linger if you can. All of our exits here usually only hold one aircraft. Try and complete your after landing checklist as quickly as possible. Switch over to ground as soon as you get off the runway, just in case we do need to move you. We can go ahead and reach out to you and tell you to move your aircraft because someone's coming right behind you or something. If you block that exit for too long, then another aircraft comes behind you, they're automatically in the runway safety area and we can no longer use the runway. We're sending people around at that point in time. So don't do that. Good. Next slide.
Yeah, just the frequency change to ground control. It's a national airspace thing to get an instruction to switch to ground. It's not a Montgomery thing. I know some people say that or some people think that. you are supposed to stay on the tower frequency until you're told to contact ground, no matter where you go, any airport.
Some runway 23 operation tips. Do not stop on the runway if you're unsure where to exit. Just get off the runway. If we're running 2-3 ops, we're busy because we have one runway. Just get off the runway. If you think you're exiting onto another runway, say, hey, I'm turning left here. Can I turn left here? More than likely, we're going to say yes because we just want you off the runway because there's somebody on short final. We're going to work with you. Just get off the runway. The circle there in the picture is echo. When you're landing 2-3, most people get off on echo. Use echo as much as possible. It's a nice, easy turn off, almost like delta when you're landing 2-8 left. Okay, next slide. Here's the recommended VFR routes overlaid. If you're westbound, we're going to tell you straight out and go north of Mount Soledad as you go because all the arrivals are the green. That's kind of hard to see in this picture, but they were telling everybody to go southwest of Mount Soledad. This is also in a video called From the Flight Deck, where the pilot actually flies it and videotapes it. I highly recommend everybody watch that video. But these are easy arrival routes that keep everybody safe. North side when you're departing, south side of Mount Soledad when you're arriving. In the red, those departure routes. Notice how they don't cross final. I like that picture. Okay, next slide. I like easy and simple. Time-consuming readbacks. Yeah, no readback at all because you didn't check your volume. Readbacks without call sign, that doesn't help us. The mandatory readbacks are, again, hold short, runway assignments with call sign. And yeah, you can see some examples that are unacceptable at the bottom. We need hold short runway 28 left, Cessna 3386 Echo. It's got to be runway 28 left because we have 2 left runways here. So you got to read that back correctly. Say the full runway name. Yeah, I think that slide explains itself. Next slide. Oh, actually, I do have one more thing about that transmission. If you don't say your call sign in a hold short instruction, you are now taking time away from someone else where we could be looking out the window at another aircraft or at the radar scope to give a traffic advisory. But now we have to come back to you as a pilot and make sure you're reading back that hold short instruction. So essentially, you're making everything unsafe because you're not reading back a hold short instruction, because now I can't provide another safety alert to someone else. So please get those hold short instructions read back correctly so that everybody's safe. We get it right the first time and we can focus on something else, make sure everyone else is safe in the airspace.
That seems kind of crazy because the call sign is the one thing that you pretty much say every single time you key the mic. You say your call sign because we don't know who's talking if you don't say your call sign. So that's like the one thing that's required every time you talk. Call sign.
This is directed towards the instructors. Please, when it's busy and your students are struggling with a couple of radio calls, just take it over. It's very frustrating when we're trying to separate 5-6 people in the pattern or coming in on arrival and one aircraft just can't get their call sign. If you're an instructor, please step up and just take it over until it slows down again, then you can let your student kick on. There's so many times where somebody messes something up and we're not busy and I'm like, hey, get your student to try it again. We'll do that when it's slow. When it's busy, we don't. No, we need you to read it back correctly. We need to make sure that you're following the right traffic and there's no miscommunication or any confusion. Because now, if somebody speaks like that, and now I'm questioning if they got it right, oh, now I got to focus more time on you instead of someone else, giving another traffic advisor or something. You're drawing our attention away from where it should be, and now we're focusing on you to make sure it's correct. So please step up with that. Same with the long-winded. Just step in for your students. When it gets slower, then you can let them talk later. But when it gets busy, please, instructors, step up. Next slide. I think we're almost done here. GA pilot train that we're seeing still, like 6 months now at least, using the 4-letter. So like Cessna 3386 Echo, people will call us 386 Echo.
That's not a call sign.
That's not a call sign.
Especially if you use if you acknowledge something 4386 Echo, well, now you just change your call sign. I know you're saying 4 is an FOR, but it sounds just like the number 4. So you just change your call sign. 4386 Echo. Who's 4386 Echo? Yeah. And we do have some aircraft that are only 4-character call signs, like
Bonanzas.
Centaur 8753.
Yeah, we had a Cirrus today, 15 Bravo Mike. At first, we were like, "Oh, is that Cherokee 5 Bravo Mike that flies in and out of here?" No, it was a Cirrus. It was correct, but we were confused about it. So in November, aircraft type or model, and then the full call sign on the initial contact, and then you can reduce it down to 3. There's a nice little message for the early birds. Pretty much get what you want before 9:30. Yeah, if you want short approaches, stop and goes, that definitely come out that time. And there's a link to from the flight deck. I know that was long-winded. I appreciate everyone's time. I'll open it up for questions if we got time. Shane, we're good?
Yep.
Code encouragement.
Joining audio. Sorry, feedback. All right. If there's any questions, there's one question that was posted that I posted in the chat, but it's has the procedure that they use at the Gillespie 27 right run-up complete versus holding short radio call being used at MYF, which keeps the access to the runway open? I'm not sure I completely understand, but maybe you guys understand that more than I do.
I was over at Gillespie, and essentially what people do over there is they stay in the run-up, and then they just say run-up complete, ready for departure. We're hoping you do that here at Montgomery, because if you pull up, now you're blocking everybody. And if IFR everybody, we don't always get IFR releases quickly. So now you just blocked all those VFR departures. Please don't do that. Stay in the run-up area if you can until we call you, and then you can taxi out and for departure. I know over at Gillespie they issue the squawk code also. Whenever you contact tower, we don't do that here. Yeah, because they have a different release system, even with VFR flight following. We don't have that here. For VFR flight following, we can just launch you. It's the IFR that we have to make a request.
All right. Anyone else has any questions? Feel free to post them into the chat. So far, I'm getting a lot of thanks to you guys.
Yeah, we have been super busy here at Montgomery. As a general overview, yeah, I think your website shows 27% increase in traffic level here at Montgomery. We're continuing, still seeing a 10% year over year, month over month type of increase. So last May compared to the May prior, yeah, that was COVID. But we're still seeing, even over the last 5 years, every year in May, it's increasing about 10%. So we're getting very busy. We projected to go, we have what's called a traffic complexity level, and all the airports are like that, all the way up to like a level 12. We're going to be jumping another level, I think, soon. We already jumped one a few months ago just because we've been so busy. COVID slowed down for 3 months, and then it was like everybody wanted to fly themselves, and then out they came. And the flight training kept going, and it's been super busy.
And all that is thanks to Plus One,
No,
Coast Flight Training, CAU.
yeah,
everybody in Montgomery is just expanding so much.
yeah. Crown Air, now that they finished their construction, and Coast opened up an FBO, so they're starting to get more jets and even more maintenance on the field. People coming in to do maintenance. It's picking up all around, and it's great for us. Hopefully, great for y'all. We just want to keep everybody safe.
We had one question about when tower hours are resuming.
Oh, and tower tours?
Oh, sorry, tower tours. Yep.
Okay.
That's a good question. I wish we had a better answer. We love pilot tours. We're looking forward to resuming them whenever Big FAA says it's okay.
Yeah, they're currently still not even letting controllers in from other facilities into our building right now. So
unless it's on official business.
Oh.
But Joe Schmo from whatever FAA facility just wants to come visit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I don't have any other questions that posted from anyone, so you guys are free to drop off.
And thank you, everybody. And again, if you do have questions, don't feel you can always call us, even in the tower, and we'll answer your questions more than likely. So just give us a ring if you do, or send them up through Shane there, and we'll get back to you, I promise.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated. Have a good night. All right, y'all are free to drop off, which I'm surprised more people haven't. You can put the code in if you have any problems with the code, then just drop a line in the chat. Let me know. And the calendar on the website will have more information on the next meeting dates. I'm going to try to increase the number of meetings that we have that are they're going to be kind of between informational meetings and instructional meetings. So again, they're going to be open to all members, not specific to instructors. I'm hoping to do a G1000 course soon, some GNS 430, 650, 750, etc. Oh, did I forget the period on the +1 flyers? Yeah, okay. Typo. It's interesting because I just used it. Hang on, guys. Let me. So if you're don't follow that one, let me take a look. Stand by 1 second. And oh, okay, hold on. I know what the reason is. We actually don't need that. Stand by. Again, if you want to drop off, you can drop off. About 5 or 10 minutes.